Greetings YouTube channel junkies. I'm back, it's Compass Cat. The Undertaker Navigator is up to his old tricks again, bringing me in like a relief pitcher in the bottom of the 9th inning to save his sorry ass once again. That boy has never learned to finish the job. I'm here to introduce his video dedicated to another person of interest who helped fuel the Nav's passion for tennis by being particularly nice to him in his younger days. So, let's get to it. We are burning daylight. Later on, how appropriate will that phrase be? Is tennis a dangerous sport? Was created to honor Southern Illinois University's longtime tennis coach Dick Lefevre. The Compass Cat will start with John Richard Dick Lefevre's obituary. Carbondale, John Richard Dick Lefevre, 89, formerly of Carbondale, passed away Monday, May 17, 2010, peacefully, in Gainesville, Florida. Dick was a beloved husband, father, uncle, collegiate leader, and friend, whose family and friends will sorely miss. Dick was born October 19, 1920, in Elkhart, Indiana to Catherine, Erwin, and Ralph Lefevre, and was the third of 4 boys in this athletic and gifted family. He graduated from Oberlin College in 1942 with a Bachelor of Arts in Health and Physical Education. After serving in the U.S. Army Air Corps during World War II, he earned his Master of Arts and Doctor of Education degrees at Columbia University, New York. While at Oberlin, he earned 9 varsity letters in football, basketball, and tennis, and was named the Glenn Gray Scholar for the class of 1942. He was a tennis professional at Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. He wrote the fundamental rules for NCAA tennis competition and created the U.S. Tennis Coach of the Year award while writing for Tennis USA magazine. Dick is in 3 halls of fame: Southern Illinois University Carbondale for coaching, Oberlin College Heisman Hall of Fame, and the NCAA Tennis Hall of Fame. Dick was an assistant professor at Peabody College for Teachers, Vanderbilt University, the director of health, physical education, and athletics for the Arlington, Virginia, public schools, and an associate and full professor at Southern Illinois University Carbondale from 1955 to 1993, where he also held the position of head men's tennis coach, drawing the NCAA tennis championships to Southern Illinois University Carbondale in 1967. The Undertaker Navigator has this to say.
I never played for Coach Lefevre, only against his teams of 1968, 1969, and 1970. I'm from Southern Illinois and was recruited aggressively by this wonderful man. I turned him down to attend Indiana University to play for another wonderful man, Bill Landon, who grew up in Evanston, Illinois. I thought Dick would despise me and treat me like a traitor, but he was never that man, a vindictive man. I sat out a whole tier at Indiana because of the Big Ten's truly asinine freshman rule. I was aching to get into the action, and my little selfish prayer was answered. In late May of 1967, Dick invited me to help him run the NCAA Division Men's National Championships hosted in June on SIU's Carbondale campus. I don't think Coach Lefevre ever held a grudge against anyone, do you? He made this lowly sophomore to be feel special because that's what people with true class. How dangerous is the sport of tennis? The discussion of the Davis Cup match in Arkansas in 1973, one of my previous videos, triggered my memory of an interesting match where I called the 1967 NCAA Division I men's singles final service line. That final was between Chilean Jaime Fio representing the University of Miami and Californian Bob Lutz representing the University of Southern California. Fio had played in the 1973 Davis Cup match in Arkansas, and Bob Lutz was tagged to play for the USA but had to scratch in 1973 due to injury. But this bizarre encounter was in 1967, 6 years before the Davis Cup. It was rare for the tournament to be held in the Midwest. Still, Coach Dick Lefevre lobbied the NCAA administrators well enough to successfully persuade the powers to be to hold the tournament on the Southern Illinois University campus in Carbondale, Illinois, about 120 miles from my hometown. My freshman year I was not allowed to play because the Big Ten had that idiotic freshman rule in all sports. Coach Lefevre knew I was free of other obligations, he needed reliable lines people, and he had a kitty from which he could make it worth my time and travel expenses. No pun intended, but this was a match made in heaven for both of us, the proverbial win-win situation. Coach had recruited me heavily to come to SIU and was disappointed but understanding when I chose Indiana. I'd say we had become friends over a couple of years when he was hoping I would come to SIU. Dick King, a former four-year standout for the Salukis, also from Olney, Illinois, had initially tagged me for Coach Lefevre. Mr. King would be my boss in Austin, Texas the summer of 1969. The summer of 1969 will be a future video story on this channel. Dick K was an exceptional doubles player and was one of my motivational influencers in that he and Dick Londenberger were finalists in 1957 in the Illinois State High School Doubles Championships. He had about 9 years on me. In 1969 I was 21 and Dick had turned 30. We were kidding him that summer that we couldn't trust him anymore because the phrase was, "You don't trust anybody over 30." The team tournament was shaping up to be a barn burner with the two traditional favorites UCLA and USC slightly in front. However, upstart Miami with Jaime Fillo in the singles final opposite Bob Lutz, could have bumped UCLA to a disappointing third. The last ember of the team title contention was glowing hot as the two future professional stars prepared for what turned out to be an epic match. I was told that if UCLA won the final in doubles between them and USC and Fillo beats Lutz, UCLA would pull the upset and win the national title. If USC wins the doubles, they would also secure the team title regardless of the singles outcome. Then the singles championship would decide second and third between Miami and UCLA. UCLA finishes as runner-up with a Lutz triumph in the final and Miami gets the second spot if Fillo defeats Lutz. With Stan Smith and Bob Lutz at their helm, USC had been the overwhelming favorite at the start of the tournament. As in life, there are no sure outcomes in athletics. USC, UCLA, and Miami were clearly the three best teams in the country. Stan Smith was seeded number 1, gets upset by Gary Rose from UCLA in the quarterfinals, opening the door for Miami and Mr. Fillo. Oh, those dastardly extenuating circumstances. Smith was accustomed to playing in the lower humidity levels of Southern California, not the case in Southern Illinois in June of 1967. I was there, sitting on a metal chair on an asphalt tennis court calling the service line for the whole oppressive week. A privileged position for an unproven sophomore to be tennis recruit at Indiana University who wasn't even allowed to play a competitive match until his second year in the Big Ten. God, I hate that I was robbed of 25% of my collegiate tennis life by that asinine freshman rule. A pox on those who instigated such a stupid rule. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but this is my platform and no one is going to deny me my right to do this. One of the worst things that can be done to any athlete is to deny him or her the opportunity to fairly compete over any period. Getting back to the situation that Mr. Stan Smith ran into in Carbondale, Illinois in June of 1967. The playing conditions for these NCAA Division I men's tennis championships were not anticipated with two exceptions, the two opposing coaches of the singles finalists, as will be revealed. My theory is that God gets bored with mankind occasionally and decides to mix up the predictable outcomes on Earth, and June of 1967 provided this opportunity. The oppressive conditions present during that tournament were truly exceptional, especially for Mr. Stan Smith. Even though highly favored to win, he lost to a UCLA player who did not even play number 1 for his team. This early loss tightened the team competition to a three-way race. Fillo, playing primarily in southern Florida, was most likely more acclimated than Lutz, who had primarily played in lower humidity. George Tolley, the longtime USC coach, was well aware of the Chilean's apparent upcoming advantage and was ready to employ his secret fix. I do not recall Lutz's victim in his semifinal match, but it was swift and merciless, much to Coach Tolley's liking. Bob had handled the heat and humidity well and conditions were primed for a great final. Dick Lefevre wanted somebody reliable on the service line and put me on it once again. From the start it was quickly apparent that Fillo had a problem. He was lethargic, unsmiling, uncharacteristically somber. He did not feel well. Lutz, on the other hand, came out guns blazing and won the first 15 games in the 3 out of 5 set final. The Miami coach, Gardner Malloy, was not ill-prepared, for he came to the court with a green-tinted liquid that looked a lot like modern-day Gatorade. Who knew? Maybe the electrolyte concoction invented in Florida should have been called Hurricaneade, we will never know. So it was 6-love 3-love for Lutz, and everybody started murmuring in the crowd predicting a blowout. However, at 3-love, Theo perked up, held serve, promptly broke Bob, held again, and pulled out a hard-fought 10-8 third set win. Hot damn. Now we had a match. Coach Tolley had faithfully stuck to his secret countermeasure, simply a tablespoon of pure honey for the Trojan at each changeover. The beauty of tennis scoring, it's not tied to a clock. Theo knew in his mind he was not down 15-0, he was down 2-love with the goal to get to 3. Later as a tennis coach I always taught my students to minimize their lead and their opponent's lead if they were behind. Jaime told himself that he was only down 2-0 in one break of serve. If you can think that way, you will be able to seize any opening to get back into any match. In tennis, you have to win the last point. Jaime Theo was rejuvenated and cruised to a fourth set win, 6-2 games for Mr. Lutz, who was gathering himself for the final set. Theo faded in losing the anticlimactic fifth set 6-2. Smith and Lutz won the doubles final and secured a 9th team title for the University of Southern California Trojans. Coach George Tolley could finally relax with his bottle of honey safely stored away until it would be needed again. The ending score still ranks as one the most bizarre in tennis. Bob Lutz, USC defeated Jaime Theo, Miami, 6-love 8-10 2-6 6-2 in 3 hours and change. The first 15 games didn't even take an hour. I think it was a historic match because of the supplemental liquids and high-energy honey that was given to the players. Modern nutritional science and knowledge were starting to become a significant part of our sport. People have no idea the endurance that the top tennis players have to have when they're playing 3 out of 5 sets in the Australian summer, which can be brutal in January down under. During our summer in the Northern Hemisphere, the sun is the farthest away, but during their summer it's the closest to our planet. I'm telling you, I've gone twice to the Australian Open, in 2008 and in 2014. Several times the back of my hands were fried from the intense rays. Djokovic and Nadal played a 5-hour and 48-minute final in 2012. Without modern endurance training, superb nutritional knowledge, sleep management, and mental relaxation training, no one would be able to manage the physical challenge posed by the match that Djokovic won over his rival Nadal, 5-7 6-4 6-2 6-7 5-7 in the tiebreak, 7-5. In 2008, I witnessed a match between Juan Monaco, Argentina, and Amr Delic, a Croatian-born American, a classical matchup between a collegiate serve and volleyer and a pure baseliner destined to make it into the world's top 10 in 2012. Delic played for the University of Illinois, the 2003 undefeated, 32-0, NCAA Division I national tennis champions. I had meticulously scrutinized the draw and picked this match to watch in its entirety. They battled for just over 5 hours in brutal conditions, with both players calling for a trainer to treat cramps. This was during the period during which it was being debated to allow treatment or not. The old schoolers said nay. A player must play continuously or retire due to loss of physical condition. Cramps are not a legitimate injury. The modern camp favored allowing treatment but limiting the number of trainer visits. Juan Monaco prevailed that second round match, 6-3 7-6 8-6 in the tiebreak, 5-7 6-7 8-10 in the tiebreak, 8-6. The last point was played, the two competitors came to the net, shook hands, and both collapsed. Neither left the court under their own power. They were each put on a stretcher, put in an ambulance, and rushed to the nearest hospital for IV injections of vital fluids. No, this match will never be remembered like the Nadal-Djokovic final in 2012, but I assure you it was as consuming. The first set was only one service break because Monaco served first. The remaining 4 sets were 2 tiebreaks and 2 extended deuce sets totaling 52 games, plus the 9 from the first set totals 59 regular games plus 2 extended tiebreaks, 8-6 and 10-8. Nadal and Djokovic were in better condition than Delic and Monaco. The commonality of both matches was the sheer danger all 4 were exposed to playing in the intense ultraviolet rays of the Australian sun. The main point in exploring these two otherwise unrelated tennis matches is that tennis can be extremely dangerous because it is often scheduled for and played in conditions of extreme heat and humidity. The sports administrators and ruling body, the ITF, need to evaluate what will or will not be tolerated in the future. Do not let us follow boxing's example and have numerous participants die before anything meaningful is done to guard the players and the integrity of the sport itself. The final issue I would like to address at the end of this video is probably the most important point. Extreme heat and humidity have to be managed properly. However, the greater threat of exposure that most tennis pros, professional touring and teaching, experience is the threat of skin cancer. In Australia, they make a special effort to draw the public's awareness to the risk of too much exposure to the sun. They do this through numerous billboard ads, drawing attention to this hazard. I am simply reminding all who play tennis, not just those who play it professionally or teach it professionally, but simply all who spend a lot of time in the sun, you need to be cautious and prepared for the time you spend outdoors. The name of this video should not be, Burning Daylight, it will be a question, are we burning daylight? Or is daylight burning us?
Just wanted to end this video, which was a work of passion, of appreciation to Coach Lefevre at Southern Illinois University, and to thank some other people that were significant influences in my tennis. Almost all my coaches are gone, but there are two individuals still with us who are just simply fantastic gentlemen and have supported tennis their entire lives. Number one is Dick King, who was my boss at Caswell Tennis Center for the summer of 1969. When we landed on the moon, and a young man, 21 years old, attending Indiana University, had the summer of his life, working under Dick King's tutelage, and lighted a fire to become a coach and teaching professional. Dick was inducted into the Texas Hall of Fame in 2015. His doubles partner from high school, Dick Lefevre, who lives in Dallas, was the other individual that had a lot of influence on me picking up a tennis racket and getting to enjoy tennis for these 76 years that I've been on this planet. Dick has a fabulous playing record, and he was inducted in the Texas Tennis Hall of Fame in 2022. Myself, I was thrilled to be inducted into the Arkansas Tennis Hall of Fame as a coach, not as an outstanding player. I competed well on a state level, nothing much beyond that. I competed well in college. I wanted to have time to play nationally. In 1997, Mother Nature had a different plan for me in the fact that I had a brain hemorrhage stroke, which paralyzed most of my left side and sidelined me from tennis for a few years. Regardless, I've been very blessed, and this adventure with YouTube is working out to be a rejuvenating force in my life. I've had more energy. My mind is thinking better, being creative. It's a wonderful feeling. I lost the love of my life approximately 2 years ago, and I've been a little bit down since then, but I think the YouTube experience is bringing me out of that. So I just wanted to thank those two individuals, and I'm going to plug a little picture file that shows the two Dicks, Landenberger and King, along with myself, noting our inductees into the different Hall of Fames, which I'm very proud of. And to stand along with those two individuals is very flattering to me, but I'm proud to have that privilege. My doubles partner from college, Jeff Hodgson, lives 6 miles from me in Hot Springs Village. We started out a world apart since he's originally from Perth, Australia. But when he retired back to the United States from Australia, he decided that Hot Springs Village was a good place for him to keep an eye on his son and his grandsons in Dallas. I think it's worked out very well for him. We're headed to Indiana University tennis alumni this coming weekend. I'm looking forward to it. Unfortunately, I'm completely out of shape because I've been a terrible physical specimen the last 4 years, and I've got to get back and start hitting some tennis balls. I'll get there. I've got a lot of good friends, which I'm very thankful for. I've got 2 fine grandsons that live with me, along with my stepdaughter, Chaley, and other close family members. And I stay in touch with my big sister, Gail, in Illinois, who is a fabulous woman in herself. I couldn't have done nearly as well in school if I hadn't had her as a leading example. She was valedictorian of her high school class, gained a degree and master's degree in ceramic engineering, which is basically a hot field today, which is material science. Just been a great, big, wonderful sister to me. So I want to thank any of you who are starting to view my videos, and I welcome any feedback. I hope it's constructive. I hear the social media arena can be pretty rough on people at times, but I hope that's not the case. I'll just close by thanking the Lord for letting me be associated with Coach Lefevre and Coach Landon. Dick King and Dick Landenberger and K.O., John and Bob or Robert Palace in Flora. People who had tremendous influence on my love for tennis. Thank you very much. God bless.